The Georgetown debate hall was alive with excitement, filled with students and reporters. What began as a normal political discussion was about to turn into one of the year's most intense exchanges. Freshman Barron Trump, just 18, sat at the debate table with a confident air, his tall frame drawing all eyes as he straightened, his navy blazer looking every bit the political heir. Opposite him was Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett from Texas, invited to talk about getting young people involved in politics. No one expected what came next. Congresswoman Crockett listened as Barron spoke, his tone calm but sharp. With all due respect, your record suggests you're not fit to guide America's youth in politics. The room went quiet. Students stared at each other in disbelief while cameras captured every second. But what Crockett revealed next would turn everything on its head. A hidden recording on her phone exposed something no one saw coming, leaving Barron Trump speechless for the first time. Before we get into this unbelievable story, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss these shocking political moments shaping America. This wasn't just a clash between a young Trump and a Democratic Congresswoman. It was about to show how fast the balance of power can change when someone underestimates their opponent. At 18, Barron Trump had already made a name for himself at Georgetown. Standing nearly 6'8", he loomed over his classmates in both presence and intellect. Unlike his siblings, who dove straight into business, he chose to study political science with a focus on constitutional law. Professors called him exceptionally smart and politically sharp for his age. He hadn't lost a single debate in his freshman year, and students nicknamed him the Giant, not only for his height, but for how he dominated every political discussion. Barron had mostly stayed out of the public eye during his father's presidency and campaigns, but now he was ready to make a name for himself. Since he arrived, Georgetown's Young Republicans Club had grown by 300%, and many were already talking about him as a future political contender. Tonight's debate was meant to be his big moment, a chance to prove that the Trump political legacy had a sharp new voice. Across from him, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, 43, represented Texas's 30th district. A former civil rights lawyer, she had earned a reputation as one of Congress's boldest voices. Her standout moments in committee hearings had made her a social media sensation. Raised in St. Louis, she worked through law school and dedicated years to criminal justice reform. Before winning her seat in 2022, Crockett was known for her sharp questioning, cutting through political nonsense, and exposing hypocrisy. What few knew was that she had been quietly investigating something for months, something that would soon shake the political world. This Georgetown debate wasn't just about youth politics. It symbolized the clash of two Americas, the Trump legacy aiming to crown its next generation leader, and the rising stars of the progressive movement. For Barron, it was a chance to prove he belonged on the national stage. For Crockett, it was a moment to guide young people in real political engagement. Neither realized they were about to spark one of the most unforgettable confrontations of the year. The debate quickly became one of the most talked about political moments of the decade. The topic: how to engage Generation Z in American politics. The format was straightforward, a 45-minute discussion moderated by Georgetown's political science chair, Dr. Sarah Martinez. The audience included 200 students, faculty, and local media, while C-SPAN broadcasted live and social media buzzed with excitement. As Dr. Martinez introduced the speakers, the energy in the room was palpable. This marked Barron Trump's first adult appearance in a public political debate, and Congresswoman Crockett's first time facing a member of the Trump family in such a setting. The stage was set for something unforgettable. The atmosphere turned tense as Dr. Martinez asked a clear question: how can we get more young Americans involved in politics? Jasmine Crockett went first, speaking about voter registration, civic education, and the need for genuine representation. Her answer was composed, professional, and well-received. Then it was Barron's turn. Thank you, Dr. Martinez, he began, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone born into influence. Congresswoman Crockett raises some good points, but I have to question whether she's the right person to guide America's youth. A ripple of surprise ran through the audience. This wasn't the polite academic debate they'd anticipated. Barron stayed calm, but his words were sharp. Barron didn't hold back. Congresswoman Crockett represents everything wrong with modern politics, he said. She's more focused on viral moments and social media than real governance. Her committee appearances are theater, not substance. Students quickly pulled out their phones, sensing this moment was about to go viral. Crockett raised an eyebrow but stayed calm. Barron continued, "Your voting record shows a pattern of partisan extremism that pushes moderates away. How can someone so divisive claim to represent unity?" Leaning forward, Crockett replied, her voice steady but sharp, "Mr. Trump, I respect your passion, but before questioning my fitness for office, maybe you should take a close look at your own family's political record." The tension in the room grew. It was starting to get personal. Barron's jaw tightened. The first sign cracks were appearing in his calm exterior. "My family's record speaks for itself, Congresswoman. We've actually accomplished things in office, not just performed for cameras," he said. Crockett's voice rose slightly. "Like the January 6th insurrection? Like trying to overturn a legitimate election? Like the multiple indictments?" That's when Barron pushed further, changing the dynamic completely. Standing at his full 6'8" and looming over the room, his voice carried unmistakably the authority of his name. "Congresswoman Crockett, let me be very clear. Your grandstanding may play well on Twitter, but it doesn't change the fact that you are fundamentally unfit to hold office, let alone guide America's youth." Barron continued, his voice sharp. "Your radical agenda, your inflammatory rhetoric, your complete disregard for constitutional principles, all of it makes you a threat to our democracy." The word unfit hung in the air like a thunderclap. Students gasped, and even the moderator looked stunned. In seconds, the debate had shifted from a discussion to a personal attack. Crockett stayed silent for a moment, her face unreadable, then she slowly reached for her phone. "Mr. Trump," she said, her voice now icy and controlled, "before we go any further about who is unfit, I think this audience needs to hear something." She raised her phone, finger hovering over the play button. "It's a recording from 3 weeks ago," Crockett said, holding the phone up. "I think it's very relevant to our discussion about fitness for political engagement." The room went silent. For the first time, Barron's confident expression wavered. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice losing some authority. Crockett looked at him, then into the cameras. "I'm about to play a recording that shows exactly what kind of political engagement you've been involved in behind closed doors." She hit play. The audio was crystal clear through the room's speakers, and everyone immediately recognized Barron's voice. "Look, I don't actually believe half the stuff I say in these debates," he said. "It's all about positioning for the future. These Georgetown kids eat up the constitutional law stuff, but it's just theater. Dad taught me, you say whatever gets you power, then do whatever you want with it." A second, unidentified voice could be heard. An unfamiliar voice asked, "But what about your actual positions? What do you really believe?" Barron replied candidly, "Honestly, I think Dad went too far on a lot of things. The election fraud claims, January 6th, that was a disaster. But I can't say that publicly. The base would destroy me. So I play the part, build my brand, and eventually pivot to something more moderate when the time is right." The room was completely silent. You could hear the shocked intake of breath from the audience. The recording continued. "These people I debate with, like this Crockett woman, she's actually pretty smart. Her positions aren't that radical if you look closely. But calling her unfit and dangerous, that plays well with our crowd. It's all about the optics," Barron said. The unknown voice pressed on. "So you're saying you don't really believe what you're..." "Barron, are you saying you don't actually believe what you've been saying about her?" The voice asked. "Of course not," Barron admitted. She's probably more qualified than half the Republicans in Congress, but admitting that doesn't help me build my political future. You have to understand politics isn't about truth. It's about narrative, and the Trump narrative needs enemies. The final part of the recording was the most damaging. The funny thing is, I agree with Crockett on a lot of issues: climate change, criminal justice reform, even some of her economic policies. But I'll stand up there and call her a radical extremist because that's what my audience wants to hear. That's how you build a following in today's politics. You tell people what they want to hear, not what's actually true. When the recording ended, the room fell into stunned silence, completely deafening. For the first time since the debate began, after hearing the recording, Barron Trump looked genuinely shaken. His face had gone pale, and his normally confident posture had collapsed. He stood there, all 6'8" of him, looking like a kid caught in a lie. That recording, he stammered, his composed debate persona completely gone, is from a conversation you had 3 weeks ago with a Georgetown journalism student. Crockett remained calm. Yes, a student working on a profile about you. Someone who believed the public had a right to see who you really are behind the political theater. She stood up, and suddenly, the height difference didn't matter. Her presence filled the room. Mr. Trump, you just called me unfit for office. You questioned my qualifications, my integrity, my ability to guide young Americans, but this recording shows that you don't even believe your own attacks, Crockett said, her voice steady but cutting. You admit I'm qualified. You admit you agree with my positions. You admit that calling me dangerous is just theater for your political brand. The audience was captivated. Some students recorded on their phones, while others sat in stunned silence. Let me ask you this, Crockett continued, her voice rising with righteous anger. Who's really unfit here? Is it the congresswoman who has been fighting for her constituents, working on legislation, and speaking her truth? Or is it the young man who admits to lying about his positions, manipulating his audience, and building his entire political persona on deception? Barron tried to speak, but no words came out. Crockett pressed on. You talk about constitutional principles, Mr. Trump, but the foundation of our democracy is honest discourse, representatives who actually believe in what they stand for. It's leaders who don't treat politics as theater and voters as an audience to manipulate, Crockett continued. The Georgetown students, who had admired Barron's intellect and confidence all year, now saw him in a completely different light. Murmurs of shock and disappointment spread through the room. That's not. I didn't mean. Barron finally managed to speak, but his usual eloquence was gone. You didn't mean for people to hear your real thoughts, Crockett pressed. You didn't mean for your constituents, because that's what these students are. Your future constituents, to know that you see them as marks to be conned rather than citizens to be served. She looked straight into the C-SPAN cameras. This is exactly what's wrong with American politics. We have young people entering the arena who see public service as performance art, who believe leadership is about saying whatever wins you power, no matter the truth or the consequences, Crockett said. She turned back to Barron. You want to talk about unfitness? Let's talk about a political candidate who admits to lying to voters, builds a brand on manufactured outrage, and treats democracy as a game to be won rather than a trust to be honored. The room erupted, not with polite academic applause, but sustained, genuine clapping from students who felt they had witnessed something important. For the first time in his 18 years, Barron Trump had been completely and utterly defeated. As the debate officially ended, the Georgetown auditorium buzzed with electric energy. Students grouped together, animatedly discussing what they had just seen. As students discussed what they had just witnessed, many began posting clips to social media, capturing every angle of Barron's stunned expression and Crockett's victorious stance. Dr. Martinez, the moderator, struggled to restore order as the formal conclusion turned into an impromptu press scrum. Local reporters pressed forward, shouting questions at both speakers. Barron, still visibly shaken, gathered his materials and moved quickly. The confident young man who had entered the debate was gone. In his place stood someone who seemed far younger than 18, overwhelmed by the weight of what had just occurred. No questions, he mumbled to reporters as his Georgetown security detail guided him through a side door. For someone who had commanded every room he'd entered over the past year, the retreat was startling to witness. Within minutes of the debate ending, #BarronExposed began trending on Twitter, climbing to the top spot within 2 hours. The most viral clip captured the exact moment Crockett played the recording, zooming in on Barron's face as his own words completely contradicted his debate statements. In the first hour alone, the video was shared over 100,000 times. Conservative Twitter erupted in outrage. Many of Barron's supporters felt betrayed. Barron Trump 2044? Yes, that account just lost all credibility. How can you build a political movement on lies? This recording changes everything. This kid isn't the future of conservatism. He's everything wrong with politics, disappointed. Doesn't begin to cover it. We thought Barron was different, turns out he's just another political opportunist. Meanwhile, liberal Twitter was celebrating Crockett's flawless takedown. Jasmine Crockett just delivered the most devastating political exposure I've ever seen, one commentator said. The timing was perfect. Barron Trump called her unfit, and she proved he's the one who's unfit. The way she stayed calm while he melted down, that's real political skill. By the next morning, every major news network was covering the story. Footage played repeatedly across cable channels as pundits dissected every moment. CNN's morning show led with the headline, "Georgetown Debate Shocker, Recording Exposes Barron Trump's Private Views." Analysts called it a stunning fall from grace for someone many considered the future of the Trump political dynasty. Fox News struggled to navigate the story, trying to defend Barron without alienating their viewers. Their coverage was noticeably restrained compared to their usual strong defense of anything related to the Trump family. MSNBC went all in on the story, running multiple segments analyzing its implications. This recording exposes the cynical calculations behind modern political rhetoric, one host said. Here's a young man admitting he doesn't believe his own positions, he's just saying whatever will build his brand on campus. The reaction was swift and severe. Students who had once flocked to Barron's Young Republicans meetings began questioning everything. Membership in the club dropped by 60% within a week. "I felt betrayed," said Sarah Chen, a sophomore and former vocal supporter. "I actually changed some of my political views because his arguments seemed so compelling. Now, I find out he didn't even believe what he was saying." Professor Michael Roberts, who taught Barron's constitutional law class, expressed disappointment. "Academic integrity is fundamental to everything we do here. The idea that a student would engage in publicly presenting yourself in discourse while privately admitting to manipulation and deception is deeply troubling," Professor Roberts added. Georgetown's administration faced a delicate situation. While they couldn't penalize Barron for his political views, the recording raised serious questions about academic honesty and character that couldn't be ignored. 3 days after the debate, Barron released a carefully worded statement through his lawyer. The recording played by Congresswoman Crockett was taken out of context and represents a private conversation recorded without my knowledge or consent. "My political positions are sincerely held, and I stand by my critique of Congresswoman Crockett's record. This attack on my character is exactly the kind of political theater I've been working to reform." But the damage was done. The statement felt hollow after. After hearing his own words on the recording, social media users quickly noted the irony, Barron complaining about political theater when he had just admitted that was exactly what he was doing. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett used the moment to highlight larger points about political integrity. In interviews after the debate, she stressed the importance of authentic leadership. "This isn't about destroying a young man," she told CNN. "It's about exposing the cynical manipulation that too often passes for political discourse. Voters deserve leaders who actually believe in what they're fighting for." Her congressional office reported a 400% increase in donations in the week following the debate, and her social media following grew by over 200,000. Democratic leadership began calling her a rising star with national potential. Political analysts dissected the incident as a rare, clear example of how some figures treat their positions as tools for personal gain rather than public service, as strategic choices rather than principled stands. This is the danger of treating politics like a reality show, noted Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a political scientist at American University. When young people see political leadership as performance art, it undermines the entire democratic process. Conservative commentators struggled with the fallout. Many had invested in the idea that Barron represented a more intellectual, principled version of Trump politics, but the recording completely shattered that narrative. Perhaps most tellingly, the Trump family's response was muted. Donald Trump, who usually defended family members vigorously on social media, posted only a brief statement: "Barron is young and learning. Fake news. Media loves to attack my family." The lack of a stronger defense highlighted just how damaging the recording was. Even within Trump circles, 6 months later, the effects were. The fallout continued to echo through political circles. Barron Trump had effectively vanished from public political life. His planned spring semester course on conservative political philosophy was quietly canceled due to low enrollment. Georgetown students noted that he had become far more withdrawn on campus, no longer dominating classroom debates. The confident young man who once seemed destined for political stardom had been replaced by someone reflecting deeply on his approach to public life. The Barron Trump-Jasmine Crockett debate became a case study in political authenticity. It highlighted how quickly public perception can shift when private beliefs clash with public statements. More importantly, it demonstrated the power of preparation and principle in political discourse. Crockett's victory wasn't just about possessing damaging information, it was about wielding it effectively. Crockett used the moment strategically to make a larger point about political integrity. For young Americans watching the debate unfold, it offered a clear lesson: authentic leadership requires genuinely believing in what you fight for. Voters can tell the difference between performance and principle, and over time, authenticity prevails. In the weeks after the debate, the Georgetown journalism student who made the recording came forward. Jaime Martinez, no relation to the moderator, was a senior working on a profile of political dynasties in American universities. "I wasn't trying to trap him," Martinez told the Georgetown Voice. "I was just asking follow-up questions about his positions, and he started being really candid about the gap between what he believed privately and what he said publicly. I felt like students had a right to know." Students and observers debated the ethical questions around the recording journalism, privacy, and public accountability, but most agreed that once Barron attacked Crockett's fitness for office, his own qualifications were fair game. Crockett's skillful handling of the confrontation propelled her to new heights in Democratic politics. Within a year, she was being discussed as a potential Senate candidate, and her committee assignments reflected her growing influence. Her debate performance became required viewing in political communication classes nationwide. The way she stayed calm under pressure, delivered a perfectly timed counter, and used the moment to highlight political integrity became a textbook example of effective political strategy. 2 years later, in a rare interview, Barron Trump reflected on the debate, calling it a wake-up call about the difference between politics as performance and politics as service. "I learned that if you enter public life, your private beliefs need to align with your public positions, because eventually the truth comes out," he admitted. Whether this marked genuine growth or another calculated move remained uncertain. In a rare interview, Barron Trump reflected on the debate, calling it a wake-up call about the difference between politics as performance and politics as service. "I learned that if you enter public life, your private beliefs need to align with your public positions, because eventually the truth comes out," he admitted. Whether this marked genuine growth or another calculated move remained uncertain. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Comment below, do you think Barron Trump can recover from this political disaster? Or is his future in politics over? Don't forget to share this video with anyone who needs to see what real political accountability looks like. This story highlights the power of authentic political discourse and the risks of treating public service as performance art. In an age of political theater, moments of genuine accountability like this remind us what democracy is truly meant to be.